argument with your man, right? You know you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
Which one are you doing? Are you one, crying? Are you two, giving him sex? Or three, saying sorry? Which one, honest?
Crying, or maybe arguing, maybe gaslight.
Wow.
I'm saying sorry. If I'm in the wrong, I'm saying sorry.
That's a good woman.
Pick me.
Look at that. The one chick who actually does the right thing, what do? They go and shame her and say she's a pick me. Meanwhile, all of them literally said, if I knew I was in the wrong, I would A, cry, offer him sex, or just gaslight him. This is the kind of state of the world that we're in. And then they're going to try to sell us on the point that women have this moral authority. Absolutely not. It's time to start calling this shit out. Hey, what it do? It's your boy Scope, back at it with another video. Now today we'll be discussing, are women more trustworthy in positions of power? All throughout my life I've heard things along the lines of, if women were in positions of power, there would be less wars. Society would be a better place if more women were in positions of power. But today we live in a world where women are in a position of power. And let's just see how that's playing along. Let's take a look here.
Development involving DeRidder's former mayor, Misty Roberts Clanton. She's been arrested for rape allegedly involving a juvenile. Good evening, I'm Cynthia Arsenault. The State Police Special Victims Unit interviewed 2 juveniles, including the alleged victim. Both confirmed Roberts had sex with the one juvenile while employed as mayor. 42-year-old Roberts is facing 1 count of third-degree rape and 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of juveniles. She's been released on a $75,000 bond. It'll be up to a grand jury to decide if she'll be officially charged. Roberts resigned as mayor just 5 days ago. Her arrest follows a tumultuous week in DeRidder. Roberts said she'd be away from the office for 2 weeks, appointing an interim mayor on Friday. She then resigned Saturday. Attorney Adam Johnson is representing Roberts. He said in a statement, quote, "My client maintains her innocence, and as it stands, she is in fact innocent. She has not been charged with the crime and or convicted of any crime, and we trust the public will respect her constitutional presumption of innocence, which is fundamental to our system of justice," end quote. Now, we'll continue to update this story as new details are released on air and online at kplctv.com.
Now, that was just one of many, many stories out there where women like this who are in positions of power are abusing their power and are not getting called out for it. This was the mayor of a city in Louisiana, and she was out here doing this to kids and then just somehow abruptly resigned. Now, what really made me want to do and cover this story is because there's a phenomenon that's been going on recently of teachers and women in authority doing these kind of things. And when confronted, they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. And this right here is another great clip that will highlight why women take no accountability when they're called out for their wicked ways, essentially. Take a look here.
Argument with your man, right? You know you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
Which one are you doing? Are you one, crying? Are you two, giving him sex? Or three, saying sorry? Which one, honest?
Women don't say sorry.
I never do anything wrong, so I've got nothing ever to say.
Always right.
Yeah. I'm carrying on the argument. I'm crying.
Offering sex? Obviously. I'm offering sex.
Crying
Why are you crying?
because then it's like guilt tripping it. So then they'll be like, "Oh no, it's fine. Don't worry."
Crying, or maybe arguing, maybe gaslight.
Wow.
I'm saying sorry. If I'm in the wrong, I'm saying sorry.
That's a good woman.
Pick me.
Look at that. The one chick who actually does the right thing, what do? They go and shame her and say she's a pick me. Meanwhile, all of them literally said, if I knew I was in the wrong, I would A, cry, offer him sex, or just gaslight him. This is the kind of state of the world that we're in. And then they're going to try to sell us on the point that women have this moral authority. Absolutely not. It's time to start calling this shit out. Let's take a look here. That is disturbing.
So in an argument with your man, right? You know you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
Which one are you doing? Are you one, crying? Are you two, giving him sex? Or three, saying sorry? Which one? Honest.
Women don't say sorry.
I never do anything wrong, so I've got nothing ever to say.
Always right.
Yeah.
I'm carrying on the argument. I'm crying.
Offering sex. Obviously. I'm offering sex.
Crying
Why are you crying?
because then it's like guilt tripping it. So then they'll be like, oh no, it's fine. Don't worry.
Crying, or maybe arguing, maybe gaslight.
Wow.
I'm saying sorry. If I'm wrong, I'm saying sorry.
That's a good woman.
Pick me.
So in an
Pick me. The one chick that actually does the right thing. She's a pick me. But let's keep it going here. We got a great clip by It's Complicated channel. Go check out his channel. He makes some great content out there. But I've been saying this for quite a while, that men are actually more abused in relationships, and these two ladies will actually go ahead and prove my point. Take a look at this.
Aren't men more likely to be manipulated through sex?
Oh, yeah.
Men only think about sex, so they're very manipulated.
Women dominate it.
So then why aren't men protected from emotional abuse the same way women are protected from physical abuse?
Because men are idiots.
No, emotional is worse. No, emotional is worse than physical.
It is.
So then if emotional is worse than physical,
Yes, the
wouldn't
men-
men deserve protection more than women?
They would. They should.
But they're not smart enough to fight for it.
They literally said that emotional abuse is worse. Men experience emotional abuse more in relationships. That women control men through sex and then proceed to laugh about it. Do you see how women have no moral superiority here? That they are just as corrupt as men. In fact, even more corrupt because they are in more positions of power nowadays. That the media is just pushing them in DEI and all of these other things. And here they are just laughing about it. Let's take a look at this. This is very recent. These two ride or die best friends allegedly had, this should not even be phrased this way, allegedly had sex with their students. Why would they phrase it that way? It's clearly assault. Are you kidding me? Let's take a look here. Look at that. They also had boyfriends and were married. When are we going to start calling this out? This is absolutely disgusting behavior. These two women are married and then out here preying upon young kids. Wow. They both got themselves a beta Brad. Lock him up. Throw him under the jail. Now, this leads us to our main video. This video is a great breakdown of this phenomenon that I've been talking about. Let's take a look here. Let's watch this.
Women hired to nurture and teach children, later accused of taking advantage of their positions and sexually assaulting the kids. What's driving them to molest kids that they should be protecting? Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Female teachers accused of using their jobs to target their students who are just kids for sex. It's happening a lot these days, and some of these cases involve students as young as 12. In Texas, Jaden Charles, a pregnant mother of 4, was arrested in the past week, accused of having sex with multiple students. Police telling local TV stations they have video of Charles at a hotel with a student. Another Texas case. Margaret Claire Burris was charged last month with having an improper relationship with a student after police said they found inappropriate text messages on her phone. In Florida, Lauren King, a paraprofessional, was also charged recently with having sex with a 12-year-old student. I can remember back in the 90s when Mary
12-year-old student. Did we just, how sick is that? And the other thing is, this phenomenon, I've come to realize this phenomenon has been going on for quite a long time. It just hasn't been highlighted. In fact, it gets more highlighted when male teachers do this as opposed to when these female teachers are doing that. You see how there's no accountability? But let's keep watching.
K. Letourneau was arrested and charged with raping her 12-year-old student, Billy Falau. Letourneau served time in prison and even gave birth to 2 children fathered by Falau. They even later married. The case was
2
shocking.
children?
People couldn't believe it. Now it seems like we're hearing about a female teacher being arrested every other week, somewhere around the country, for having sex with a student. With me to discuss what seems to be an epidemic of female teachers being arrested for sex crimes with students is Chris Hansen. He's an expert in this. He's the host of
it's my
Takedown.
guy Chris Hansen making an appearance. Shout out to Chris Hansen, man. He done caught all of the pedophiles out there. Chris Hansen's a legend, man. Give this
With
guy
Chris
an
Hansen.
award.
He's also the co-founder of the True Blue Crime Network. Chris, I just can't get over the number of female teachers who've been arrested recently. We've covered at least 10 or 12 of them just in the last couple of months across the country. So what is going on as far as you can tell? Are we just not screening these people properly, or are we hiring people who are too young and too immature to handle these positions?
I would almost buy into the age argument and the maturity argument, Anjanette, except for the fact that we've seen cases of offenders involving crimes like this who are in their 70s on the most extreme side. This has happened so much.
What, in their 70s? No way, bruh. No way. 70-year-old teachers out here getting their cheeks clapped. Holy smokes.
The last 18 months that we at True Blue have actually commissioned a documentary looking at the root cause of this, trying to find out. And I don't pretend to have the answer to that question. We are delving into it. But I can tell you, based upon all the hundreds of predator investigations that we've done and continue to do at True Blue, you see trends. And what causes the trend? The offense typically has its roots in fantasy, many times in porn. And so if you're seeing teacher-student fetish porn on one of the social media hubs or platforms providing this sort of material, you ultimately will see this play out in real life. And I think that may have some effect on what we're seeing now. There's some fantasy brewing out there in a certain section of our society that's being played out. And that's part of what I think we're seeing here now.
That's an interesting take from you, because I think that that is a legitimate concern. The pornography aspect of this, it creates this fantasy, but also, I mean, this is illegal. I mean, this is not.
Well, it is illegal.
This is not.
It is illegal. And the other thing that psychiatrists will tell you, Anjanette, is that for some of these people, they're acting out an experience that either reflects a very exciting point in their life, or they're trying to catch up with something they missed out on. Predators who talk to me after they're arrested, well, and I don't know whether they're telling me the truth or not, but they will often tell me that they're preying on a girl who's 12, 13, 14, 15 because they felt they missed out when they were 12, 13, 14, 15, and other kids were having sex and they weren't. I don't know if I buy that, but that's what they say. And the other thing psychiatrists and therapists will tell you is that in the case of a female teacher who's exploiting a young male student, it will represent a happy, pleasureful, pleasant time in their lives. And they want to recreate that experience at the cost of exploiting a child. And so I think it all plays together. You know, there's never a single point failure or single point cause in these situations. It's a combination of things that all come to a head. But absolutely, in above being anecdotal, I can tell you that we're seeing more of these cases than ever before. And I've been in this business for 42 years as a reporter and 20 years investigating child predators. Literally 20 years ago this month, we did the very first investigation. And I've come to learn a lot about these crimes, and so I think there's very definitely a link with porn and fetish porn involving teacher-student scenarios.
That is very interesting. And part of me,
This actually goes deeper than just being corn out here. There are many fantasies that women have that are not really explored out here. There's a very interesting book by Nancy Friday. If you've ever heard of it, it's called My Secret Garden. And that book really goes into it. It was like in the 1970s, and Nancy Friday sent out, basically, she posted an ad, and all these women responded to it. And this was prior to the internet age as well. And these women pretty much expressed their fantasies. And there are a lot of very crazy fantasies that women have that just go pretty much swept under the table. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well.
it almost sounds like there's an Arrested Development kind of thing going on here as well.
Well, I think that's part of it too. Yeah.
But you shouldn't be
agree.
in these positions then. I mean, like,
Well, exactly.
come on.
And
like,
so the question is, are we doing enough to screen people? But if you look
Right.
at the case in the Midwest that we explored on True Blue a couple months ago, you had literally a woman in her 70s at a private Christian school who was, sexually involved with at least one and maybe more students. Who suspects somebody of that? It doesn't meet the criminal math of what we normally see. So, obviously we need screening. Obviously, school administrators need to be vigilant about who they hire and how quickly they hire, the background checks of those they hire. But, a lot of these cases are slipping through it, and we're seeing more than ever before.
they do seem to be slipping through. And I wonder, are we becoming more aware of it? And I think back to when I was in high school, of course. And when I was in high school, I mean, the teachers, we had a couple of younger teachers, right? But all the teachers just seemed like older. They seemed like older than your parents, or at least your parents' age, at least. And it didn't ever seem like somebody, like, I mean, maybe I was just fortunate that we didn't have that going on in the places where I went to school. But it just didn't seem like we heard about it as much. I mean, is it because they're getting caught more these days as well? Because
Well,
we have,
I think I think that's part of
cell
it. I mean,
phones, social
again,
media?
I think it's cell phones. I think it's social media that fuels this from all standpoints. The internet, obviously, but I also think there's more awareness. So there's more opportunity for somebody to report it. There's more. I hope that all these stories we do.
Yeah, one of the other aspects is there are a lot younger teachers. I'm noticing a lot more millennial and Gen Z teachers out here that are very irresponsible. Go back to the old clip that we just talked about where they were saying they would cry, offer sex, just completely dodge accountability. So there really is that factor.
On predators, embolden survivors and victims to come forward and report this. So I think there's more of that. I think parents do review their children's social media, and a lot of these cases are uncovered because a parent sees something on a cell phone or a tablet, and you can also see odd behavior. If the teacher is picking up your student, from the house, and they're not going on a field trip, or at least not the kind of field trip you want them to go on, it raises suspicions. But all predator teachers included, prey on those who are vulnerable. So they will try to find kids who fit the scenario of somebody who may not tell or who may be vulnerable for a number of different reasons. And that's what predators do. So that's why some of these cases go on for months, sometimes many months before they're reported and uncovered and investigated. But, at least now, because of all the awareness and all the investigations that, we've done and so many different law enforcement agencies across the country have done, the justice system takes this seriously. It's not just swept under the rug. These cases are prosecuted. District attorneys across the country take it very seriously. Law enforcement takes it very seriously. And some of these people are going to prison. And they're facing, very, very strict.
Yeah, the only way to get rid of this, honestly, is by punishing whoever is doing this. All of these teachers, they need to get really heavy sentences, and it'll disincentivize whoever is thinking about doing this. That's what happened with all the male teachers who were doing this. They got the books thrown at them and then stopped happening.
enforcement here.
What do schools need to do to screen better for this? I mean, do you have any idea? I mean, do we need a more stringent interview process? Do we need like a psychological evaluation of these teachers before they're hired and these paraprofessionals?
Well, I think each state has a responsibility, and the federal government has a responsibility to set a baseline of a background check. So obviously, there's a criminal background check. There should be some sort of interview that
A whole social media check. That's where the disconnect is happening. It's not only in the background check. These people's social medias need to be checked. What are they posting on social media? Are they posting provocative pictures? Are they talking about inappropriate topics? Are they on sugar baby platforms? You know how many teachers out here are doing pseudo prostitution on the side? Like, there's a lot of things going on out here where teachers are monetizing their dating, and then somehow our teachers, they're working with kids, and then it's leading to this. Like, obviously, somebody who's you know how many other teachers have OnlyFans, for example? All of these things need to be screened. It's not just about your typical background check nowadays.
who's practiced in psychology and perhaps psychiatry to say, okay, does this person seem fit? There's no 100% guarantee on any of this. You know that. You've been in this business too long to know that you can't,
Right.
have a
People can slip
100%
through.
dome of safety. Yeah, people slip through, and that's unfortunate, but that's part of reality. But we can do the best we can to prevent that from happening, and it doesn't appear in some of these cases that's been done. Sadly, you can't always assume that everybody's a good person. I think sometimes you have to assume that everybody has an element of badness to them or evil to them, and that's unfortunate. But when it comes to teachers and the safety of our students and our children, I think we need to take that extra step.
And talk to your kids every day. I mean,
I think, and look, this is right. This is my mantra. Because all this is going on, because the police can't be everywhere, the feds can't be everywhere, school administrators can't be everywhere, your best defense on all of this is the relationship that you have with your children. And especially in the early stages of children having access to the internet, the first conversation is, there are adults on the internet who like to trick children. They will pretend to be children in order to trick you. If you don't know them in real life, you don't know them as friends on the internet. That's how it starts. And as kids mature and they have greater access to the internet, you need to ratchet up that conversation. But you also need to, talk about adults in their lives. And, we want to look up to our teachers and our principals and our coaches. But, if something happens, come to me. It's the same with sextortion. So many of these kids are afraid to tell their parents they made a mistake and sent a sexually explicit picture thinking it was a girl and it was actually an extortionist from half a world away. And they're committing suicide over this, as opposed to saying, I messed up. And no parent would not understand that. And so they're, especially when it comes to boys, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, their brains aren't fully formed yet. They don't get all that's happening to them. And
they're
so,
impulsive.
we want to protect our girls, but we have to protect our young men too. And they have to know that they can come to you if there's a problem. And that is still, the best defense of your family, of your.
That's a fact. For anybody who's out there watching this, I don't know who it could possibly reach, but always, have the tough conversations with your kids and really keep your kids off of social media as long as you possibly can. You really are the first line of defense for your kids. You need to be actively involved in their lives, monitoring their social media usage. Don't just, this is the kind of world where we're living in, where we have iPad kids, where parents just toss an iPad to their kids and just let the technology raise them. And that's not the right way to be doing it at all. The technology is not safe. The technology is there for exploitative purposes. There's nobody out here just trying to teach your kids any moral stuff out here. They're just there to exploit them, feed them garbage, and you really are the first line of defense. So parents, take this seriously. Do not, be crying after your kid's been diddled or something like that by all of these groomers out here. That's not the time to be crying about it. The time to be trying to do something is take preventative measures instead of being reactive to the stuff.
Your children is to have that conversation. And it's not easy to have always, but you need to have it.
Yeah, every night I ask my son, "How was school? What happened at school?"
Yeah.
Just I don't force him, but
Yeah.
I do, and we have these conversations ever so often about how not everybody is a good person. So
Right.
I
And
just
you
think
can
back to these
slough it
things
off,
like
slough it off on me and my investigations, I mean, so you got to watch this.
I haven't
This
introduced my
this
son
guy is
yet to
telling
Chris
stories.
Hansen.
Yeah. Well, and maybe it's
Baby
not age
steps.
appropriate yet, but I mean, there's always a reason to raise alarm without you being overprotective or seeming overprotective. You can always blame it on somebody else that I saw this and I just want to make sure. I know it sounds silly and extreme, but I want to make sure this isn't happening at your school. And you just know that you can tell me if something weird or like this happens. Again, blame it on Hansen. That's fine. I'm comfortable with that.
We will blame it on Hansen. Chris Hansen, thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Hey man, shout out to the guy Chris Hansen. What a legend. He's still out here. And go check out this channel right here, Law and Crime Network. Go check them out, give them a subscribe. But that's what I've got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below your thoughts. And, watch out for these predatory people out here. It's your boy Scope. I'll catch you on the next one. Out of here.